Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to General Finance of February 6th. I'll first begin by identifying any media on the line.
Hi there, it's Donna from the Two-Row Times.
Good morning, Donna.
Hello.
Is there any representatives from the Turtle Island News? I think CKRZ has usually been joining us lately as well. Seeing just Donna from the Two-Row Times, I'll then move into any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda. And if I'm not seeing any, I will at this point look for a mover and seconder. Moved by Michelle, seconder. Seconded by Greg, to adopt our general finance agenda of February 6th. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. And also we have joining us, joining Councillor Sherry Lynn. We have no delegations or presentations this morning, so that will lead us right into the adoption of the general finance minutes. I'll give a couple of minutes to review those. Looking to any questions, comments to the minutes? Okay, and seeing if there's no questions or comments on the minutes, I will look to a mover and seconder to adopt our general finance minutes of January 16th.
I'll move on a minute.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. It's moved by Carrie, seconder. Second by Helen. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Our next item we have is in relation to Public Works, which is the MTO First Nations Road Program. We have our Director of Public Works on the line. Good morning, Mr. Michael.
Morning.
I'll maybe just give it to you, Michael, to maybe just provide just a high-level backgrounder.
Okay, now Chief. Second everyone, good morning. I'm Michael Montour, Director of Public Works for Six Nations of the Grand River. This is an approval for reporting mechanism. So we get annual funding for the calendar year from the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario. The amount we get is $551,400 total. And in order to get this operation maintenance money, we need to claim actual expenses in that year, and they need to be double that funding amount. So we track all the different things we do throughout the year as far as construction and anything like roadside cutting, cold patching, anything to do with our roads. And the expense that we had this calendar year is in the resolution. It's $1,750,870. So that's just a reporting requirement to get this annual operation and maintenance funding to Six Nations. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that background there, Michael. Opening the floor up for any questions, comments. Greg?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I think we talked about this before. This doesn't include that roundabout funding, does it?
No. The roundabout funding is from provincial federal application-based funding. We submitted a proposal to. So this is just actual expenses for O&M and construction in the calendar year of 2022. And this is from the province. We also get a federal portion.
Great.
Of O&M funding.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question, Greg. Are there any further questions or comments for Mike?
Chief, I got a question.
Sure, Carrie.
Mike, does this 551 ever increase regardless of what we spend?
It was quite static for quite a while, but I believe in 3 or 4 years ago, it did increase by about 150K. So I've seen one increase in my time here in 11 years. So I know that came after a lot of advocacy from the political table. So maybe that's something to put on the docket.
Just to thanks for that question and response, Carrie and Mike. This is actually part of even, I would say, our further advocacy work that we have to do politically in order to see as many repairs and resurfacing done for our roads. As we know, roads has been quite an issue over this past season. Obviously, going into the spring, they're not going to get any better. So we got to obviously, double, triple this funding in order to do this, these roads in a one-time kind of manner. So, Mike, I guess maybe what we can do is touch base off the line to further discuss how we can politically come up with an action plan on where we can, put some more pressure on. I see two hands being raised. I'm going to first go over to Hazel and then over to Nathan.
Yes, my question is along the same lines as Carrie with regard to funding. It seems that if in Mike's time of 11 years already, and he's only seen one increase, and we all know that last year's inflation rate was kind of out of sight. I guess it makes me wonder how the government thinks that this amount of 551,400 has to be matched by Six Nations, when I recall asking Mike at one time, what is it cost to repair one concession of road? And correct me, Mike, if I'm wrong, I think you told me it was 700 and some thousand. Is that right?
Depending on the type of surface we put on, depending on the road, it could range from 250 to 750. Yes.
So that's this amount that they're giving is less than what it costs to do that one road, right?
Depending on which road it is, yeah. So if it's a main road where we're doing asphalt and doing some base repairs, then yeah.
So I think we should always say that we're going for the highest quality of road by, not having to take something less than, but do it to the higher degree of improvement. So it really leaves you wondering how the government can even compare this little bit of money and haven't given a raise only once in 11 years. And this amount that they're handing over is less than what it would cost Six Nations to fix one road to the degree of being a real good road. That's my comment. Thanks.
Okay, thanks Hazel for your comments. I see Nathan has his hand raised.
Thanks, Chief, and thanks, Mike, for the presentation. One thing just to add on the political side is just noting, and I mentioned this before, a lot of the I guess destruction of our roads is in result of the. That's my puppy. Sorry. That's not our new system. That's my little puppy. A lot of it has to do with the large trucks that are here, and I'm wondering if we can't look at an option for having those large trucks as they come on pay a toll. Hey, pay a toll in terms of the use of the roads, because I think they're getting off and they use the res as the shortcut. Just an option to kind of look at having them also pay and contribute to the revenue source to keep the improvements.
Thanks. I think that's a good point taken. Mike, has anything been discussed in that nature in the past when doing this application?
No, it's I think this is like a nationwide or province-wide initiative that First Nations is going to qualify for. I don't necessarily know what it's based off, but in that point, to Nathan's point, in regards to the damage to the roads, I know that maybe that's a good point to bring up in your conversations with the feds and the province. Well, more than the feds, about the GRE taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because those truckers in the province and the federal would pay for taxes, which would go back to those roads, but that doesn't come back here, right? So
100%.
That's a great argument to be had.
Yeah, and actually, to be honest, we're making some great strides in those conversations as we speak. In fact, we did have the opportunity to meet with Minister Mulroney, not specifically on this, but have all been able to I guess really further the relationship in the conversations and what we want to get achieved here at Six Nations. So obviously we know roads is one of them, infrastructure, the list goes on, and I think that's where we were just even chatting here that further political assertion on the redirection of funds from GRE excise taxes will help us be able to do all of this work. I think really good points. Further questions, comments to the motion. So until we get to that point, we do have to look to the current motion to continue to as we do business. So at this point, I'll look to a mover and seconder to the recommendation A. Moved by Sherry Lynn. Seconder.
I'll second, Nathan.
Seconded by Nathan. Further questions, comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Motion to waive second reading. Moved by Sherry Lynn. Seconder.
I'll second.
Seconded by Nathan. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Mike, for joining us this morning. And I'll look to touch base with you off the record so that we can maybe further come up with some creative, political assertions.
Yeah, everyone, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to continue moving on with our agenda here. Our third quarter financial report. I believe Jennifer and Wayne is on the line. So at this point in time, I'll pass the floor over to you. Thank you.
Good morning. It's Jennifer Court, Director of Financial Reporting and Analysis for Six Nations. I'm here to present the Q3 financial statements. So these statements are from the period of the beginning of the fiscal year, April 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. So 75% of the year is represented in these results. Moving on to the summary page. So you can see that from regular operations in the left column budget FY 2023, that's the budget for the entire fiscal year, not for the 3 quarters. And at the end of the year, we were projecting and budgeting to have a deficit of $3.6 million in our regular operations. A surplus of $8 million in OFNLP and Brantford Casino funds, and that brought us to a budgeted net result for the entire fiscal year of a surplus of $4.3 million. In the center column, Q3 FY 2023, that is for the 9 months that have actually gone by in this fiscal year. And you can see that from regular operations, our revenue is sitting at $87 million with expense, $87.7 million with expenses of 87.6. So it's showing a small surplus of $177,000. In OFNLP and Brantford Casino, our revenue is sitting at $12.7 million, which is actually trending higher due to additional funds being flown to us from OFNLP. Our expenses are sitting at $2.4 million. So the surplus there is sitting at $10 million. That brings us so far to a surplus in this fiscal year of $10.4 million. The very last column, there's your actuals from last fiscal year. So for the period of April 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022. And that's a full year comparative as well. Moving on to the statement of operations. This slide shows you all of the results for the different departments within Six Nations, formatted in the similar way where the left column is a full year of budget of 2023, showing you the revenue, expenses, and deficit, just more of in a detailed fashion. And then in the center, that's where you'll see where we're coming in with the $177,000 from operations, and then at the bottom, the 10.4. So a couple of things to note in here. is that you'll see that in the actuals, there's a couple of departments that are trending in a deficit that wasn't budgeted for, such as health and social. It's not an indicator that health and social don't necessarily have funds available to take care of these deficits at this moment in time. It's just possible that they do not have the funding that has been actually committed quite yet. So the funding has been sort of promised, but not fully committed. So it hasn't been recognized yet. So there's no concern that those departments will actually go into or remain, in a deficit position. Some of the departments are achieving beyond their budgeted. So of note is the CEO office. You can see that they are sitting at $2.5 million surplus compared to a budgeted 1.6. And some of the reasons for that is receiving additional administration fees from new funding that wasn't budgeted for. Moving on to the statement of financial position. So the statement of financial position, this one actually does compare the December 31st to December 31st. So it is a direct comparison of 3/4 of last fiscal year to 3/4 of this fiscal year. Some of the things to note in the statement of financial position, obviously, is we're continuing to utilize some of our cash in short-term investments, guaranteed income investments. So that's where you'll see that the cash is lower. However, investments are higher. And we've been doing that to capitalize on the market where interest rates are substantially higher than they have been in the past. And that's also contributing to the excess surplus that we're seeing in the OF&LP and casino funds. So I'd like to open the floor for some questions.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer, for walking us through our Q3. Looking to questions, comments. I'll first begin with Greg.
Yeah, hi, Jennifer. Thanks for that report. I just had a couple of general questions just to update my knowledge a little bit. For the OF and LP dollars, is that, do you think it'll exceed the normal, like around average of 14 million this year? Do you think it'll go up above that?
We actually did see more. Yes, it will. Sorry, that's the short answer is yes, it will. So we still have 3 months of revenue from Brantford Casino that are going to come into there. And that will bring up that revenue higher than the 13 million that was originally forecasted for. One of the reasons for that is that OF and LP actually flowed us more funds than they had originally communicated that they would. And then the secondary reason to that is because our interest revenue from those investments that I was speaking of a little bit earlier are showing in that area as well. So our interest has exceeded what we had budgeted for, partly because of interest rates, and then a lot because we did funnel more things into short-term investments to capitalize on those. So we will definitely see a higher return in that area than what we were originally budgeting for.
Just follow up, Chief. Would you think that although this probably is outside the realm of your activity, but would you see that because of post-COVID, there may be an increase in, do you see any trend that it's trending upward since now people are basically using the casino more? Or are there more people coming back?
I don't think, I would probably want to rely on Wayne for some interjection here in case I'm mistaken, but I think that the Brantford Casino is based on an agreement.
Right.
And it's a set amount that we receive from them. And that I think that's the one that would be the driver of what you're asking for. So no, I don't think that that's necessarily a cause and effect to these.
Okay, I had one other question, Chief, concerning the budget. You have the reserve there, that a reserve amount. That's been pretty steady in the last few years, has it not?
Yes. Yes, it has been pretty steady.
In what percentage do you keep the reserve in terms of the total budget? Is there a certain percentage that you try to keep it at?
I'm sorry, actually, Greg, I'm not as familiar with that as maybe Wayne could be, if I could defer to him.
Oh, just the reason I was asking is that is there a possibility if it is increasing over the last few years, is that money available that could be used for programs that we think are urgent or necessary in the immediate future? But I guess that'd be more of a
Chief, if I may.
political question.
Sorry, yep, sorry, I'll pass the floor over to Wayne.
So yes, Greg, in answer to the first question, there is no budgeted amount pertaining to the reserve accounts. A lot of the reserve funds increase or decrease, primarily increase due to the OFNLP and the OLG funding. And as Jennifer mentioned, the OLG funding is a static amount as per the agreement. The OFNLP funds decreased during COVID, and they have increased this year with an expected increase in activity through the gaming activities. The other reserves are fairly stagnant. They deal with some regulatory, I don't want to say regulatory, but operating agreement obligations pertaining to some of the housing operations, whereby there are capital replacement obligations. There are operating reserves as well, again, in accordance with the operating agreement. So in short, the reserves aren't budgeted as a percentage of operations at this current time.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody, it's Audrey.
Hi, Audrey.
Sorry to be late. I was at the council house.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, thanks, Audrey, and thanks for that, Wayne. I'm going to look to further questions and comments. I see a number of hands raised. I'll first or second go over to Nathan.
Thanks, Chief, and thanks for the pretty comprehensive third quarter update. The only question I have is, you did mention due to new funding and administrative fees that the CEO's budget has showing a surplus, and it's kind of borderline for me in terms of it's pretty substantial. Is there, I don't need to know details, I just need to know that there's a plan to kind of spend that out before end of fiscal, seeing that we are in third quarter.
Thank you, Nathan. I think that it's a combination of two things, actually. Maybe I should have been a little bit more clear while I was speaking to it. The expenses also are trending a little bit lower for the CEO office, and some of the drivers of that are some of the staffing that they've picked up in the last couple of months were projected to start at the beginning of the fiscal. And also there's a few other initiatives that just haven't taken off the ground quite yet. So it's a combination of the two. That substantial increase is not only from the administration fees. So I hope that helps that. And to further answer your question, I know that with Darren, and I think he's on the call, so you could probably speak to some of his spend plans. But some of that would probably have to do with getting ready and gearing up for some of the tenure initiatives and stuff like that that we've been speaking to. But I don't have a precise plan for that at this moment. However, I think Darren would like to speak to it.
Yes, thanks for the question, Nathan. I think the other component of the admin fees is the reason that it's important that we have a healthy surplus there is those funds are not necessarily have to be returned anywhere. We create those with no conditions. They are based on our financial plan. So the larger that number is, we can dedicate those resources to new areas, such as the Mother Earth Department, which we are looking to fund in the new fiscal. So that's a big chunk of that that's going to be set aside for that as well.
Amazing answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan, for your question, and as well, Jennifer and Darren, for your responses. I'm going to now go over to Michelle.
Thanks, Chief. And thanks, Finance, for getting this to us. So 2 questions. The first one is, how come the lodge is breaking even? I would think at third quarter point, we'd either be in a surplus or deficit.
That's a really good question, actually. So Lodge is breaking even at this point because they do have available funding for their spend up until this point, but we will potentially see a loss in the fourth quarter when they deplete all of the funding that is available to them. In the past, I know that they have ran into a deficit in the last quarter, and we've been able to reallocate some health funds to offset that deficit. However, from their own self-generated revenue and funding, they typically do not necessarily have the capability of covering 100% of their operating expenses.
Okay, good to know. So last year we knew health and social had a surplus. So this year looks like they are running a deficit and that they likely will hopefully expend all that funding, correct?
Yes, I've been in conversations, and as well, Darren has been in conversations with both health and social, talking about some of the funds that they had carried forward. And we're able to carry those forward and coming up with plans with them. And there's a lot of things that are sort of in place right now where they will have to ask for an extension to carry it forward again, but because the work has not been completed. So until the work is 100% completed, we can't exhaust those funds. So some of those initiatives would carry forward as well. But we have been working closely with both of the departments to ensure that they're utilizing the funds and that we're mitigating and eliminating the risk of sending funds back.
Okay, sorry about that. I had 3 questions. And then my last question is, can we get a reporting to the community on the COVID funds? I know that was provided to us last year. And so I'm hoping we can do one more final push or, give some funds to the community once again.
Yes. Yes, thanks, Michelle. I know it's been a while since we've done a COVID update, and that's a good idea. And we'll start having the team work on preparing something for that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle and Jennifer. I'm going to now go over to Hazel.
Yes, I would just wanted to ask Jennifer with regard to the short-term investments, and that's due to the higher rates of interest that are currently being paid. So with the investments now, is the interest rate a locked-in amount or is it flexible? Should it increase or decrease the interest rate?
Thank you, Hazel. For the investments that we're using, it's a guaranteed rate. So when we put them in, it's a 30, 60, or 90 days is what we've been investing into, and it's a contracted rate for that.
Oh,
So right now, they're yielding about 5%. Some of them a little bit higher than that, but I think that most of them are yielding about 5%, whereas previously our investments were yielding or having it in our cash account, it was more of a 1%. So essentially what we're doing is forecasting and looking out to see what cash we will need for the operations in the short term, making sure obviously that we have a safety net for that. And then any excess funds that say we're going to be spending 6 months from now, we'll put that in 1 month, 2 month GIC, and that's yielding a contracted rate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Hazel and Jennifer. I'll look to any further questions or comments. Maybe if I can just, I'll ask Jennifer if you can take down your share screen. And we'll look to any further questions or comments to our Q3. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised at this point in time, so I'll look to a mover and seconder to accept as information our third quarter financial report for the period ending December 31, 22. So a mover to that effect. Moved by Michelle, sorry. Seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Hazel. All in favor?
Favor.
Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. And I too also am excited to see, Jennifer, our COVID report. So if we can work for that for the next finance meeting, so that we can again give that picture to community as well. Thanks for bringing that forward, Michelle. Next item on our agenda is ratification of an email poll. I believe this is starting today. This is for Councillor Audrey Paulus Bombury to attend the Chiefs of Ontario Language and Education Forum at the Chelsea Hotel in Toronto. Again, this was via our email, so we're just doing ratification. It was moved by Melba and seconded by Nathan. Just want to check in, is Melba online? We may just have, okay, it's moved by Michelle now at this point. Looking to Nathan if you're still willing to second.
Yep, good to go.
Okay, thank you for that, Michelle and Nathan. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. And motion to waive second reading. Moved by Michelle, seconder.
Good to go.
Second by Nathan, thank yous. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Audrey. Okay, moving through to our next item. Again, this is just a reminder that we have budget days forthcoming on February 28th through till March 2nd, as well as our council retreat happening February 22nd to 23rd. I think that's going to be a good synergy leading up to budget days. And so those are just a reminder for your calendars, council. So council retreat again, February 22, 23, and then budget days 28th through to March 2nd. So again, this is going to lay out for our remaining year. Are there any further questions or comments in relation to any reminders, scheduling? Okay, and if not, then that does complete our agenda for general finance. I'll look at this point for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Audrey, seconder. Second by Michelle. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Thank you, Nyawa, to everybody for joining us this morning on general finance, and look forward to our next meeting with you all. Have a great Monday.